Hello, George Kaplan here with another review. This time it's the Graupner MZ-12 Pro transmitter. Let me start by saying if you're looking for a transmitter that's constructed with a metal frame, has ultra high-end programming with 4 gazillion point curves on every channel, multiple servo sequencing, quadruple rates, and incorporates the latest in web browsers and MP3 music playback, then this probably isn't the system for you. But if you're looking for a solid radio with a ton of features at a pretty reasonable price, then stick with me as I try to highlight many of the features of the MZ-12 Pro. The MZ-12 Pro transmitter is housed in an all-plastic case, and although it feels slightly smaller than some standard transmitters, it feels good when you hold it because of the molded-in grips. Above the left stick are 3 switches. The long S4 switch is a 3-position switch with a spring between positions 2 and 3. S1 is a standard 2-position switch, and S2 is a 2-position switch that springs back when released. Over the right stick is the rotary knob, the 2-position S3 switch, and another long switch, S6, a 3-position switch located on the top. Digital trims are standard and they beep with a video game type sound when used. On the back of the case are 3 ports. On the left is a 3.5mm DSC headphone jack used for wired buddy box connections and training or as a headphone jack. The center data connector allows you to connect to what Graupner refers to as a smart box or to an internal Bluetooth module. On the right is a micro USB port that can be used to charge the transmitter's battery, but also connect to a computer to change settings, as well as use it as a joystick with some computer games and flight simulators. And rounding out the outer features are the left and right 4-way pads and a large fluorescent blue info screen. The transmitter is powered by a 1S 1P 1500 mAh LiPo battery that's accessed by this hatch on the back. It can be swapped out for a larger optional battery. One thing I like to do with any transmitter is tighten up the spring tension of the control sticks. Per the instructions, to do this, you first remove the 8 screws from the back of the case and carefully separate the case halves. Inside you have access to spring tension adjustment screws. While I was there, I also chose to adjust the screw on the throttle stick to give it a bit of a ratchet. It comes without the ratchet feel, but I'm an old school kind of guy. So let's turn the system on. Yep, that tone sounds just like the beginning of the log song from the Ren and Stimpy cartoon series. You'll probably also notice a beeping sound. This is the MZ-12 Pro's way of asking you if you want the RF module turned on. This will continue beeping until you do one of 3 things. Turn the transmitter off, power on your model so it can link up to the receiver, or manually turn off the RF module. Now what I've showed you so far is about the limit of what the included instruction booklet shows. My only complaint with the MZ-12 Pro is to figure out how to properly use the bulk of its features and programming, you have to download part 2 of the manual, which is a whopping 116 pages. That's a lot of pages to print out, so the reason for my gripe. When the transmitter is powered on, the main screen gives quite a bit of information at a glance. You'll see the selected model, battery voltage, the time since the transmitter was charged, various timers, flight modes, and the position of digital trims. Along the top of the display are a series of symbols that tell the signal and binding information, as well as the receiver voltage. From this screen, pushing any of the buttons on the left-hand 4-way control will pop up the telemetry. From here, you can easily monitor any of the Falcon 12's built-in telemetry, as well as the optional add-on telemetry modules you might be using. To get to the bulk of what the MZ-12 is capable of, move to the right-hand 4-way pad and click the top button, which is the enter button. This opens up the setup and programming screens, and by using both the right and left 4-way pads, you can move your way through them. Escaping back to the main screen, pushing on the right button on the right 4-way pad brings up the positioning of all 12 channels. These numbers will change in real time as you move all the controls. Back on the main screen, the left button on the right four-way pad brings up the Telemetry Setup screen. Here you can set up and change how the information is measured and displayed on the MZ-12 screen. Binding a receiver, such as the included Falcon 12, is simply a matter of powering on the receiver and letting it sit for about 15 seconds. The LED indicator will begin to blink, then start the binding process from the MZ-12 Pro's RF screen. After a couple seconds, the Falcon's light will go out and any attached servos will wiggle. Now let's get to the heart of the MZ-12 Pro's screens. First up is the model memory screen, where you can select, name, copy, and modify any of the 250 models the MZ-12 can store. Servo settings are the next screen, and you can access the servo reversing, centering, and travel adjustments for any of the 12 channels from this menu. The next screen is control settings. In this screen, you can assign the auxiliary channels 5 through 12 to any of the MZ-12 switches. Travel adjustment for these channels is also adjustable in this menu. Moving to the next screen is where dual rates and expo can be programmed for ailerons, elevator, and dual rates only. Each can be assigned to work full-time without a switch, as low and high rates on a 2-position switch, or on multiple switches if you choose. Next up is the RF screen, and this seems to be a catch-all for a number of functions. As the name suggests, binding, range test, and RF on-off functions are all here. But also in this menu, you can change the stick modes between modes 1, 2, 3, or 4 and set up the timers. Timers can be activated by any control, switch, or gimbal. I chose mine to activate with the throttle stick. The next screen is the Throttle Curve screen, channel 1. Moving the stick will move the position along the graph. Then by pushing up or down on the left four-way pad, you can adjust that part of the curve. Mixing is the next screen, and depending on the type of model chosen, aircraft, helicopter, or multi-rotor, this screen will show the appropriate built-in mixes. Each can be assigned to a switch if you'd like, so you can turn them on and off in flight. Jumping to the next series of screens, Free Mix gives you the ability to mix even more than the previous mixing screen. Up to 9 custom mixes can be programmed here. The basic screen gives access to battery warning voltage, button response speed, display contrast, light settings, country settings, and the beep volume. The last settings adjust how the DSC, data, and USB sockets function. Move on to the next screen to set up failsafes for each of the 12 channels. You can set up a delay of up to 1 second before a failsafe would activate if you want to. If you were to use the MZ-12 as the trainer or pupil, we call them normally master or slave, for training, those settings are in this next menu. Any of the 12 channels can selectively be chosen for the pupil to have control over. All of the voice prompt settings are in the next menu. Choose the appropriate pre-recorded prompt whenever a switch is toggled. Most things are covered, but certain things aren't. For those that aren't, you can choose to create and import your own sounds. The Graupner USA website has a free program that allows you to import additional sounds and upload them to the MZ-12 when it's connected via USB to your computer. The last screen shows the RFID number and installed firmware. I updated my firmware to the latest available on the Graupner USA website, and that's also done using the free program I mentioned before. One last thing on this screen is the default set. It allows you to wipe the memory and put the MZ-12 back into a factory setting, but you'll also need to reset the RF region back to America. So it's been a longer video than usual, but that's my quick video overview for the Graupner MZ-12 Pro system. As I mentioned, it also comes with the Falcon 12 receiver, and don't let that name fool you, as it's only a 6-channel receiver. But it does include 3-axis stabilization, as well as flybarless helicopter and multi-rotor controllers. It also includes real-time telemetry and can be expanded with optional telemetry modules, whether it be an altimeter, GPS, ESC settings, and more. All of those are available separately.